So rather than just do the whole thing that I just described, I will show you what like you could do or anyone could do is to take the kind of rough structure of what we talked about there, but apply it to any game. You could do rock, paper, scissors. You could do, I'm going to do basketball because I've written it down as 2 words. I think it's 1 word. With distances, or you could do, I mean, you could do literally Jedi people lightsaber thing. Because, you know, I mean, that's just like this guy chops and then this guy backflips and then, this guy like slashes and this guy ducks, all the different outcomes. You could just like throwing bottles into the bottle bank, the game. Anything that involves outcomes like this. Outcomes, anything where there is ideally 4 outcomes. I'm going to say in basketball, the outcomes are 2. And I haven't played basketball since second school. 3 points. So apologies if I don't remember the rules. Miss. Okay. I mean, I guess we should keep numbers because that way we can add up scores right at the end. 2, 3, and 0. I think that's the rules of basketball. Let's do some kind of like random thing where we get a random one. So shot result is going to be a random. Now let's just start just a completely random choice. Random dot choice of that list. The outcomes list. There we go. I mean, you could, if you don't want to do, you know, you could do like this. This would give you a random result, 2, 3 or thing. But I'm just going to assign it a variable because I'm going to be using that later. Cool. That's pretty much it. I will need to invoke, to call down from the heavens, the random module. Random module, I summon thee. Random, consider yourself imported. Import random, the best, finest random. Cool. And then let's always just go print shot result, or print whatever you do, print it. There we go. 3. Run it again. 2. There you go. I'll make it bigger so you can see. There you go, and it's working beautifully. There's a random thing. Okay, so now we got enough to turn this into a game. Just to make it a little bit more interesting, let's make, instead of just a random choice, a weighted random choice, such that we can manipulate it into a game like later on. Okay, so what you just do is you add an S here, right? Random choices, outcomes, and then you go weights is equal to circly brackets, and then just put in what? There's 3. 1, 2, 3. So you need 3 numbers here. So I'm going to do even Stevens chance, which is just 1, 1, 1. That will still, and that will still give me, now, yeah, here's the point. If I press go on this, you see it's kind of giving me 1 go, but now the problem is it actually, it's quite annoyingly enough, returns it as a list there. It's kind of annoying. I really wish it would just be a variable. The reason for that, right, is because the way this module is designed is such that it's just like, let's give me 10 example shots, right? But let's weight it so that the last one is 10 times more likely, like I always miss. Press go and you'll see, look, gives me 10 shots, mostly zeros. Okay, this is a 0 chance. So like I will get a 0 chance. I'm very bad at basketball. 0 chance of a 3. So now when I get 10, I will never get 3. And I can set this to 100, and I can get 100. But they come in a multi-pack, not to be sold separately, in a Python list. So that's the downside of using this weights thing. That's just a very small inconvenience. And that to actually just get one of them, I have to take the first item on the list, right? So shot result is equal to, look, I'm just going to overwrite it, to be honest. Okay, there you go. Because really, this is actually technically a shot result list now, you know. So it might be a better, to stop yourself getting confused, to kind of, put that in there. is shot result list 0 is the actual shot result. Does that make sense? Because this is a list. The second I put an S in there. The whole thing changed the list. Now when I press go, shot result is going to be just, oh look, the square brackets have gone. But I'm still getting, I'm rubbish at basketball according to these weights. Let me increase my skill. I'll now say 1, and I always get twice as likely to get 3 points because I'm not good. And now look at me get 3s. Sometimes get 2 zeros there. Right. Next, where do I go from here? Well, let's do it a bit differently than my first example program, where it's got football. I mean, basketball, it's distances, right? So let's say you shoot from, and I might just like sort of map this out for myself in comments of like kind of roughly what I want to do. So I'm gonna say maybe my options are 2 meters, 5 meters, 20 meters. I feel 10 meters. And then I can have like different weights, because like at 2 meters I'm more likely to get at 3 points and less likely to miss. And at 10 meters, that sort of way? Yeah, so I can adjust these weights. Let's do it. How would you do this? Okay, so first thing I'm gonna ask the person, how far would you like to shoot from? And I'm gonna give them 3 options, right? So, like gonna say like shoot distance is equal to input, and it's gonna prompt the person saying, how far would you like to throw from? Question mark. Right. Now, if you go shoot distance, and I just go always just check that everything is working okay. Your friend is this play button, this run, okay? If you keep mashing this between like changes, you're only ever one change away from your program working again. So just keep hitting that. Every time you do anything, add in a print statement, check it works. You only get sad when you make like 4 changes and you're like, okay, which of those changes caused the problem? Great. So that works fine. Like you shot from, comma. You could like add it like this because it is a string. You wouldn't have to use str brackets. Comma it's handy, isn't it? Like then you never get any of those in string problems. So it should say, yeah, how far like to throw from 1,000,000. You throw from that. Okay. Now I don't want to calculate the odds. I mean, I could actually, I could do graphs and then create a mathematical equation like a model. That's a cool thing you could do. So total other odds, you could literally kind of go find someone with a basketball and throw from different distances, draw a graph, get the equation of the line, and put it in here as an equation. That would be super cool. That's a great idea. I'm not going to do that right now because it's cold outside, and I want to get this video done and make the kids dinner. So I'm going to just give them 3 options, and I'm just going to adjust the weights according to my expert knowledge of basketball, the game. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to give them 3 options, and the way you do that is as follows. Your friend here is this \n. There's /. Aha, \. \n is new line. So \n, then you can give them options like this. 10, \n. What's the next one? It was 10, 20, 10. Sorry, 2. Jane Mackers. 2 \n. You may have to adjust the keyboard setting down here where it says ENG if your keyboard gets, it's hard to find the \. Worst case, Google it. Just Google \, copy and paste it and put it in there. That's a way around it. Or find the ASCII shortcut for it. \10, and then finally, my units. Physics teacher. Not really. Not without units. And 20 meters. Right. You see what this does? It's very similar to angle bracket BR in HTML. Let's test it out. Okay. 2 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters. You see? I like these little options. Let's give them little bullet points. Isn't that nice? Okay, that's gonna be, it's gonna look really nice in my thing. Right, look at that. Why is this off? Why has it got an extra space there? Whoops. Okay, fine. So now that I've got my program with some options in it, I can put in an if-else statement. Right, grand. Now I should put in some validation checks to see what if they type in something stupid here. But I'll go back and do that later. I just want to get the game. BR1 is make a game with some random stuff. Do that first. No messing, no getting distracted. Let's do it. If the shoot distance that they choose, let's say they do 10. Now, is a 10 the integer in ardent, in orange there, or is it a string? Well, you should know input is always a string. Okay, so it does need to be 10. Maybe we'll make it a integer later, but for now that's fine. Right, so let's give them a result. I've already done this, right? But it's gonna actually, this line is gonna be different for each of the distances. This will be the same. So if it's gonna be the same each time, I could pop in deep, but like, let's just move that right to the bottom when we're done. So this guy is gonna go in there like that. And then this is gonna go right completely outside this when we're all done here at the end. The end. All right. So, I mean, what, 10 meters? Oh, I should have said two starting off. It makes sense to go that way. I'm really close. So my chances of getting a 3-pointer are 3 times as high. I have a pretty good chance of getting a, I mean, it's a relative. I'm just going to say I will never miss at this distance. I'm like so good at basketball. And now I go into this guy here and I go elif. Distance is, and I go 10. My next option. At 10 meters, I'm going to say, you know, like, yeah, okay, I've got a pretty good chance of getting either, maybe like, I have more of a chance of, to be honest, getting a 1-pointer, this less of a chance. And my chance of missing is now probably, it's definitely there. K equals 100. Do I need to be generating 100 outcomes and then picking? Well, I'm picking the first one. I'm going to ignore the other 90 gazillion of them. So, to be honest, I can just leave this as K equals 1. Why do I even have? I could actually technically just delete it, and it would default to K equals 1. So maybe that's make more readable. I'm going to leave it in there. Just get, who knows? Maybe that's a little thing I want to tweak later in when I can tweak the simulation. I can change K. So. And the last one, of course, is 20 meters away, and I'm really thinking like chances here are 3 times likely I'm going to miss. I'm almost never going to get I could go 0.1. Does that work? I don't know. Maybe it's expecting integers here. I'm going to say 0. There's no chance of me getting a 3-pointer, and there's a okay chance of me getting it in, like a 1 in 3. Deadly. So there is the thing, and then when I press go, all right. So let's now test that out. I press go, press run. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go for 2 meters. You shot from 2. I got 3-pointer. Pretty good. You know, it suddenly occurs to me now, and I'm sure some people have been screaming at the screen going, that's not basketball. Like, if you shoot from 10 meters away, you can't get a 2-pointer. You are going to have to get a 3-pointer because that's basketball. So there's no chance of you getting this at all. Yes, but you see what I just did is I invented a new sport called Basketball 2. Basketball 2.0, where anything can happen. My point being, if you read the brief, this is you can reimagine the game, you can simplify the game, which is what I'm doing. I mean, okay, look, what you could just do there is just say, look, here, there's 0% chance of getting a 2-pointer because you can't from that distance, right? Oh, so, okay. But my point remains. You should simplify the game. Don't be worrying about how you're going to do this. Just like, as someone said, can I do darts? And I was like, well, there's thousands of outcomes for darts. But just dumb it down to like silly darts where there's a bullseye, there's 1 circle, and there's miss. 3 outcomes. Perfect test project. You can always add stuff later to it if you want, although probably just don't cut your report. Right. let's keep going. So at this point, you might be thinking, well, what's the actual game here? Like, how is there a win or whatever? Yeah, I think I'm gonna do 2-player first, and then I'm gonna do actually single player. If that makes sense. Because if I do 2-player, it's easy. Watch this. Copy. 2. And there we go. I've posted the whole thing again. So I could say second player shoot distance. Now, look, why not just use the same variables? You know, can I just leave them as shoot distance and just do it again? Yeah, I totally can. I'm kind of tempted actually to change the name of these because they're all different variables. Later on in the project, when I have my CSV, I can analyze the distance for the second player versus the first player and who tends to win if I wanted to. And I'm not going to do that right now because no brain, stop. Just get it, BR1 done as soon as you can. The only thing I'm going to do is say player 2, how far? Okay, so and this one is now going to be player 1. How far would you like? How far would yo? I guess that's in both. Like to throw from. Okay, I'm gonna go back on it. I feel like I just want to change this shoot distance to for like the second player, you know. And keep it all, like put a 2 in there for player 2. Yeah, I think I would like to do that. Outcomes 2. Right, this is all just for my second. Everything is gonna be. I should have actually just double clicked on it and went find and replace before I did this. All instances. Everything's getting a 2 for player 2. So that when I see it in my CSV, I can identify it as like a player 2. You know? Player 1 gets his thing. Alright. So adding 2 players, not so bad. It's just copy paste. Change the variables if you want. If you're honest, most people's games it can just stay the same. And you can just change the very last one to player 2. You could even, if you notice that they're the same, so there's an opportunity there to make a function that does this, and you can have as many players as you want with a function. Let's, I've added a lot of code now without pressing go on it, and no doubt I've forgotten to put a 2 after one of these things. So put a 2 meters, player 1 gets a 2, player 2 is going to shoot from 20. Go on, player 2, what's he going to get? He's going to get an error. Go on, error. He just blue screens and just shatters into a million pieces. Yes, outcomes 2 was not defined. Yeah, okay. The outcomes, when I scrolled up, I remember what they were. 2, 3. There's not any other. Like, player 2 has got like player 2 gets 1,000,000 when he gets a. Yeah, he's gonna have the same outcomes because it's the same rules. Even in basketball 2.0, it's the same. He can only get 2, 3, or 0. So the outcomes are not gonna change. Right. Now let's play it again. And 2 meters, 2 meters. Player 2 gets a 2, player 1 gets a 3. Go on. You know what's coming next? It is a comparison. You know, one versus the other. So my question now is like, do I do a comparison now, or actually I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here as player 1 and just continue on and just do the same thing for a computer player right afterwards. Oh, it's dinner time. And we're back. It was a long dinner that lasted 2 days. And me realizing that in New Thonny, you can actually run your code without saving it. And I regret them adding that great feature because I did not save it. And Untitled is gone. Anyway, here's Untitled again, outtitled and saved. I've just tidied up this block here. This is player 1. This is player 2. And now I'm going to add a computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use different variable names. I mean, I'm going to just copy paste the same block. So this one is going to say computer. How would you? Okay, but obviously, you know, it doesn't need to actually ask somebody. So this is not going to be an input. Instead of input, I just change it to a random. So a random choice between 2, 10, and 20 for distances. So I guess I need to come up with a like possible distances that the computer can pick between. That's going to look really similar to this. I think my options were 10 meters. Okay, so 2, 10, and 20 meters. So there's no point in saying computer, what would you like to do, right? Like that's going to be just, it's going to decide by going random.choice. It's choice singular because choices would be, I would use that with weights, you know, like down here. But actually, I'm just going to go random.choice from the possible distances. And I could put in like, I could put the actual list in there, but you know, it's going to pick a random. And the nice thing about that is this, unlike the weights, does not return a list of which you have to pick the first term. It literally just returns a variable, which is beautiful. Computer 1 is asked to shoot. I just want to check. Okay, so I think I'm going to say C1 after each of these, just because, like I said, I wouldn't normally do this in a program. It's kind of needless, but it would be pretty cool at the end to have a CSV file where I can look at all like the averaged distance that the computer shoots from, the computer 2 shots from. I noticed that player 2 does this. And the only way to kind of do that is to differentiate, have different variables, you know, where if I keep overwriting it, all that data will be lost. So let's go call this shoot distance 1. If shoot C1 for computer 1, right? So all of this is getting like, and then, yeah, I just got to be honest, I could put C1 after all of these things. Outcomes are not going to be, that's basketball, as I've realized. So, you know, that's fine. And possible distances is not going to change. Player 1 is 2, player 2 is also 2, and computer shoots from 20 meters and gets a 0. Yeah, I mean, from 20 meters, you're probably going to get a 0. Beautiful, because now I can copy this and go like computer 2. I'm having 2 computer players again. I'm saying just because that way it'll be very simple for me to just go computer 2 versus computer 2, because basically, look, I've got 4 people throwing the ball. Right, player 1, player 2, computer 1, and computer 2, and then I'm just going to use a main menu to say, okay, in a game, 1 person versus 1 person, I'm just going to turn off 2 of the players, and that should you know, do the game mode just beautifully. So I'm just making sure I've changed all of the variables. Every time I see a C1 here, I'm going to go to a C2. I'm a bit suspicious now that they've both gone for 2 meters and gotten a 0. So let's just run that one more time to be sure. Yeah, see, they're both getting 20 meters. So I've definitely one more for science. Yeah. Oh, wait, hang on. No. Yeah, glad I did that because that's actually fine. Shoots from 2 meters. Computer 2 went from 2. Wait, has the computer ever actually scored? I better just run because I expect the computer to score at 1 point. Okay, there you go. It was just weird stats. All right, it is fine. That looked like a bug there, but it turns out it was just freaky coincidence. Okay, now if I zoom out for a second, you can now see I've got this block of text, this block of text, and as you can see, it's player 1, 2, computer 1, and 2. So now I just need to do like a game menu and just say, okay, who do you want to play? And then before the Python gets to each block, I'll be like, okay, are you turning on this game mode? Yes or no? And that's what makes sense. Right. So here we go. I'm going to go. Okay, 1v CPU, 1v2. Yeah, I think that's just totally fine. So the simplest way to do this is just to go if the game type is 1. And that's going to be an integer. Now it's a string. It's a string because look, inputs are always strings. I'm just going to grab all that and say, okay, if the game type is 1, as in single player, you know, invoke player 1 needs to make a choice. Now there's another time when I'll also need player 1 is if he's playing or if she's playing player 2. Okay, so either of those game types, single player or multiplayer, will need to involve player 1. And you can kind of see what's going to happen down here. I don't need to really use else ifs here because this is quite fairly straightforward. I'm going to keep it really simple and easy to understand. So then if I'm for 2-player, when do I need to get 2-player involved? Well, only really if the game type is 2. Okay, if they've chosen 2. Then what about down here? When does computer 1 need to get involved? Computer 1 needs to get involved, I mean, primarily in single player or computer versus computer. So computer 1 is going to get involved here if I say single player 1, or computer versus computer, which I've set up here, is option 3. Okay, oops, sorry. Did I say type 1? There we go. Type 3. Type 1 for single player, 2 for multiplayer. Grand. And last one then, when do I need the actual like computer 2? Computers buddies, and only in a simulation. So only if the game type is 3. So if it's computer versus computer, that's the only time that happens. So let's go. Let's press. Let's play single player. I'm going to throw 2 meters, and the computer, we both miss. Grand. Let's play again. Let's say computer versus computer. There you go. And finally, 2-player, 2 and 2. Awesome. There you go. So now we've got all of the game modes, and what's nice is that computer versus computer here is very quick. You can see. So I could definitely, for computer versus computer, play a gazillion games now pretty handily. I'm back again, and I'm gonna finish off this little bit here now that I got a chance. So I've written it out in pseudocode real quick, just to sketch it out. I mean, Python is so close to pseudocode. I can just do this, and it's actual Python. So if single player, I want to have a little block here that says what if, so it's going to be another if down here. If player 1 beats computer 1, what then? And same here. And then what if a 2-player, I'm going to do the same, comparing both players. And when the computers are playing each other, then, you know, there's 2 possible outcomes. So I'll just do an if for both of those. I could, if I was being real, like, efficient, I could say if gain type this, and use it, and then say, and look at this condition, or, you know, and not equal blah blah blah. But you know, it's one of these things. If you go import this, readability counts. So I'm gonna make it look nice. It should feel clean and satisfying. So I'm gonna say here, if player 1, now what was the outcome? I'm really glad I have different variables for this now. So I can go up here to the top. Oh, the only thing is I've changed shot result to shot result 1. I quickly did that just by going find and replace. It's just because it was a shot result 2. I felt like it was easier to understand. If you're ever doing that, just be careful when you're replacing shot result to put a space after it, because otherwise you'll get every word that contains shot result, which I may also have done and then regret it, and then who knows. So here we go. If it's shot result here, I'm just going to go up here and double click and copy, because do you know what, I'm convinced I'll mess it up otherwise. If shot result from the player 1 score, who's he playing against? He's playing against the computer 1 down here. So here's where the computer 1's score comes out. Oops, I'm not trying to override it. So there you go. If player 1 beats him, I can just say print, well done. You know, player 1 wins, like this. And I'm going to just copy and paste this exactly the same thing again, but I'm just going to go like, I guess, change this now to C1 and this to 1. So the computer is more, this is more than the result from the player. Then the player computer 1 wins, you know. And I could down exact same here for the player. So if shot result 1, that's player 1 versus player 2. Player 1 wins. Go down here. And there now player 2 wins. There you go. See, look how nice and easy to understand this is. You know, readability really does count. And this should be shot result computer 1. That sort of thing. So that's it there. I've typed a lot without pressing go, but luckily here I'm gonna blue Peter and just go, here's one I made earlier before I messed up find and replace. I'm just gonna copy over this here. Okay, and it's what I just did. I'm just more convinced this one has no typos in it because I had more time to look at it. So there you can see this 2-player, and there you can see blah blah blah. And it's roughly right. I'm sure there might be still like a typo in it somewhere, but yeah, grand. Let's go. Let's test it out. Computer versus computer. Yeah, works fine. And what about like 1 player? So, oh, too fast for Donnie. Yeah, player 1. I'm gonna go for 20 meters. I've never done 20 meters. I'm actually kind of afraid now. What's gonna break the game? No, it's fine. It's fine. Well, I got a 2-pointer for 20 meters. That's pretty good. Huh. The computer got from when tried to like match my bravado, tried to go for 20 meters. It got a 0. I win. I actually kind of like this game. It's got a little bit gamble to it. Okay. So that is the comparison type. And that brings me to the end of the actual making the game. This is now a functioning game that you can play. It's got 3 modes and it runs to the end and gives you a score. Basic requirement 1, complete. Next, I need to think about basic requirement 2, which is has your program got 3 inputs and are they validated? So I would say starting off here, let's just look at how many like inputs I've got. So I would say this is, I'm just going to have a checklist for myself. Basic requirement 2, input 1. Right. So what about the next? Yeah, well, it's like right on this line here. I don't need to put in a second hashtag, but I can put it in brackets. So there's a second input there. Basic requirement 2, input 2. I guess there's another one down here. There you go. There's 3 inputs. Maybe there is more inputs, but you know what? Like, that's fine. I've got 3 at least. So let's just concentrate now on some validation checks. So validation, I mean, the most basic one is if I'm supposed to be typing a number, you know, something that says you just typed a letter. I was looking for a number. Or if there are only like 3 options, if I say Frank, Helen, and Miko, and I type Tomo, that's not Frank, Helen. Like there's 3 clear options. So that's an easy validation case. Pretty simple. All I'm going to do is check if game type. So if game type is on the list, it's on the list of 1, 2, 3. This is my list. So if game type not in my list and my list of guests for tonight, there's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. There we go. If it's not on the list, go away. Stop messing. I'm just going to say print not tonight. Not tonight. Okay, I can just say invalid. Yeah. So then I want to, like, I suppose let them out if they're very good. They're very good. I'm going to break them out of this loop. What loop? This loop. Prepare yourself. While true. You're stuck in this while true until you break out successfully. So let's try this now. If I press go, yeah, so the program still works, which is good. Stop it and go again. And let's say this time I go A. Invalid. Alternatively, you can, if you're nice, let them have another chance to get back into life by just saying, and maybe more passively aggressively, like, hey, come on. Numbers. Let's go. All right. And now, if you go A, there you go. So that's a validation check, and it doesn't punish them, you know, lock them into a thing for all eternity. So that's it. So that works for that one. I suppose you could use a very similar validation check right down here. So there's another input, look right there. And I mean, there are, you know, there's 2, 10, and 20. So I guess I could just do the same check and that's fine. That'll work. Because they're numbers. And it's the same sort. Now, if I was looking for maybe letters, I'd need a different kind of thing here. But yeah, I'm not sure I do. I probably want to label this on my comments like a validation check. Maybe I should mention just one more kind of check from another example, just in case you have like the one that is not on a finite list. So let's just say they could type anything. So let's just like tell me about your favorite dog. And you just want to make sure that they don't type 1119 when asked about their favorite dog, because it should be an English kind of sentence. There are ways of doing that where, there's not just a finite list of responses. So let me show you this one, because I think it's definitely worth looking at. And this is kind of the point in these videos, is just to show you these little things that might take you a long while to find. So I've done it slightly differently. Instead of, this is not the nightclub guest list one. This is just straight up, look, is it a number? Is it a digit? Is it an alpha, as in like ABC? Or is it an alphanumeric, ABC 1, 2, 3? So I've got here, look, if the shoot distance is a digit, which it should be, yeah, break on, just continue. If not, and then you want to catch them here by saying, look, do another input. Okay, so let's just test that one. If I say player 2, how long will I like to throw from? If I put in an AAA, that's not a number, please try again. And if I put, a number, then it'll work. So that is validation. So I might just put one more validation check. See what and you should do this as well, is like, it's basic requirement 2. Right, so I'm just saying I need 3 inputs. So make it really obvious. Basic requirement 2, hashtag 1 of 3. There's my validation check, 1 of 3. Okay, cool. And where is my input 2? There you go. Validation check, 2 of 3. I really should say of 3 to kind of show that I'm 100% certain that works. And look, I can do any one. To be honest, I can probably just go and do this one again. It does say in the brief, it'd be great if you could have validation checks on all inputs. There's no harm using the same. I've used 2 different ones here, so yeah. And there are other ways we might look at in some more of the example videos that I cover about putting these validation checks into a function. There's a really lovely way you can do it that kind of makes your own version of input. It's really nice and short, but it does use functions. So I'll leave you in your program, just put these in for each of the ones down here. I just don't want to make up a code too long for people kind of having a look at it and getting lost. I'm just trying to keep it kind of bare bones as you can understand it. Cool. So it's basic requirement 1, make a program. Basic requirement 2 was to do 3 inputs. We've just done those, and validation checks for each. Yeah, number 3 was just to have a single player, multiplayer, and computer playing, and we've done that. But maybe it would be a good idea to put in, game type, single player, or multiplayer, deadly. Like, put these in where this is 2-player mode, and the last one down here is your, like, this is like just for the simulator one. I probably should, to be honest, put them, up here for input, like that's also or basic requirement 3, like single multi sim option. Make it really obvious where you're ticking the boxes, and for yourself, so that anyone, you know, going to mark your code is just like, yeah, it says it right there. Tick, 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 tick. Cool. So that is the basic requirements. All of them. That's all done. So now I suppose what would we do here for the advanced requirements? Where would we go from here? Well, I can see here, it's basically just save it to a CSV, do some stats, and graph it, and finally do some predictions. And we're in such a good place right now because we have really nice variable names, so it'll be pretty easy to do all of this now that we've set it up well. Because yeah, there's it. So I'm going to cover it in another video rather than just this is recording time. It's like 18 minutes, so I'm going to do the advanced requirements for this one and also cover the advanced requirements for the original football one, the goalie sim, in separate videos, just to talk through those ones. Cool beans. Yeah, that's it.